Palantir joined the Nasdaq 100 on December 23rd, and this caps off what can only be described as a phenomenal year for this tech powerhouse. Let's take a step back and appreciate the incredible journey Palantir has had in 2024. First, they got added to the S&P 500 in September. Then they moved to the Nasdaq Global Select Market in November, and now they're joining the elite Nasdaq 100 index alongside tech giants like Apple, Nvidia, Meta, and Google. Now, Palantir are not alone in this move. They'll be joining forces with MicroStrategy and Exxon Enterprise, while Super Microcomputer, Moderna, and Illumina make their exit. And the timing couldn't be more perfect. The Nasdaq 100 just recently crossed 20,000 for the first time in its history. So, what has prompted this move to be added to the indices? First of all, Palantir stock has skyrocketed roughly 1,200% from its all-time low of about $6 in 2022 to the recent high of around $81. This momentum has pushed Palantir to become the world's 85th most valuable company with a market cap of around $172 billion. The 1,200% rise includes a 350% climb in 2024, which, when first added to the S&P 500 index, made it the second largest climber in the index after Vistra this year, and beating the tech behemoth Nvidia into third. Palantir is certainly holding its own for what is a relative newbie to the stock market. Now, alongside the addition to the Nasdaq 100, they just recently expanded their contract with the US Special Operations Command, landing an almost $37 billion deal that positions them as the lead software integrator for their Mission Command system. This is huge for their government contracts division and shows their growing influence in the defense sector. Okay, so now let's dive deeper into what this Nasdaq 100 inclusion really means for investors. When a company joins this prestigious index, it's like getting inducted into the Tech Hall of Fame. Index funds and ETFs that track the Nasdaq 100 will need to buy Palantir shares to match the index. That means instant buying pressure and potentially higher stock prices. But there's more to this story than just index fund buying. Being in the Nasdaq 100 opens doors to a whole new level of institutional investment. Many large pension funds and investment firms have mandates that only allow them to invest in companies listed in major indices. This means Palantir is about to become available to a massive pool of institutional money that previously couldn't touch the stock. Okay, so let's talk about the technical setup, because this is where things get quite interesting. Since breaking out of its 4-year consolidation in November, Palantir has shot up about 70%. What's unusual though is how this stock has barely taken a breather. Typically, when a stock breaks through to new all-time highs, we expect to see some corrections in the stock and retesting of previous levels. But Palantir, it's been using the 20-day moving average like a trampoline, bouncing higher almost daily. We've seen similar patterns in stocks like Nvidia during their AI-driven rally, but it's important to note that such strong trends often end with equally dramatic corrections. That's not to say Palantir is due for a crash, but rather that investors should be prepared for increased volatility. So speaking of volatility, let's break down what we're seeing in recent price action. The stock has already had a mini correction, dropping 15% from its all-time high to the $70 support zone, but it's already bounced back about 12%. This kind of resilience is impressive, but it also raises questions about sustainability. At this rate, we might see Palantir hit $100 before we ring in 2025. But here's what you really need to understand about joining the Nasdaq 100. Yes, it brings prestige and increased visibility. Yes, it means more institutional investors and improved liquidity. But it also comes with higher expectations and scrutiny. Companies in the Nasdaq 100 are judged against the likes of Apple, and Microsoft. That's some serious pressure to perform. The increased visibility also means more analyst coverage. While this can be positive in terms of information flow and market awareness, it also means more voices influencing the stock price. Every earnings report will be scrutinized more closely, and any slight miss could lead to larger price swings than we've seen in the past. There's also the classic buy the rumor, sell the news phenomenon to consider. Sometimes stocks surge before index inclusion, but face selling pressure once the actual event happens. We've seen this play out with companies like Zoom and Peloton in the past. However, Palantir's situation might be different given its strong fundamental backdrop and growing presence in both government and commercial sectors. One aspect that often gets overlooked is the impact on options market. Being in the Nasdaq 100 typically leads to increased options activity, which can affect the stock's volatility and create new opportunities for traders. We might see more sophisticated option strategies being deployed on Palantir, which could influence price action in ways we haven't seen before. Let's also talk about the broader market context. Palantir's inclusion comes at a time when AI stocks are leading the market higher. This isn't just coincidence. Palantir's AI capabilities, particularly in data analytics and decision-making systems, positions them well in the current market environment. Their success in securing government contracts also provides a level of stability that many AI companies lack. Looking ahead to 2025, there are several key factors to watch. First, how will Palantir handle the increased scrutiny and expectations that come with being a Nasdaq 100 company? Second, can they maintain their growth trajectory in both government and commercial sectors? And third, how will they navigate the evolving AI landscape? So what's the bottom line for Palantir investors? If you're already holding the stock, there's no clear reason to sell right now. The trend is undeniably upward, and pullbacks have been shallow and short-lived. That $100 mark, it's not just a pipe dream anymore. However, new investors might want to consider scaling into positions rather than going all in at the current levels. If Palantir does reach $100 without a significant correction beforehand, expect some fireworks. Round numbers like $100 have massive psychological importance, and we could see some serious price action around that level as we head into 2025. The key will be watching how institutional investors position themselves once the index inclusion is complete. You should also keep an eye on United Health stock after its recent decline following the shooting of its CEO in early December. Watch this video to find out if the company's stock will likely keep falling or if it will recover and continue to climb to new heights.